What up, MVPs? How we doing, man? Shout out to everybody watching the live stream right now. I apologize. Been under the weather for, who knows, 2 weeks. Had to go to the emergency room, do a bunch of stuff. Dude, you go to the emergency room, and these people don't know what the hell they're doing. And this is what they do for a living, bro. It's what they do for a living. I'm just letting you know they don't have a clue. Testing me for shit and everything. Look, we're going to do a rapid strep test. I'm like, cool, bro. I walked into another office 2 days later. The lady looked at me and said, what are your symptoms? I told her. She pulled out that little thing. She checked my ears, said, yo, you got an ear infection. And it's wild. So, lost my voice, couldn't make videos, couldn't make content. And here we are. So what have I been doing in that time frame? Well, I'm going to tell you what I've been doing, guys. It's been pretty awesome. I've been focusing on me, okay? I went out. I finally created my trophy room for all my military awards and accolades. That thing is about 85% complete. It's going to be banging. I can't wait to show you guys. I'm going to make a video on YouTube. I'm going to make a video on TikTok. And I'm going to show you what my trophy room looks like with all my military accolades. It's going to be truly special. Shout out to the beautiful Kim Jones for helping me with that. I've also used ample time to look into the transfer portal. I spent 2 weeks evaluating defensive backs. That's bad news for some of them. They're not going to want to hear what I got to say about them, but it's going to be said, okay? At the same time, I was able to look into all the available players. Why didn't they sign? Where are they going? What's their fit? How good are they? And then I watched some tape on some dudes, and I'm like, yo, that's a hidden gem. That's a hidden gem. And when I say a player is a hidden gem, you better listen. I'm telling you right now, you better listen. Because 2 years ago, I told you my hidden gem was Baishal Tootin. Baishal Tootin, you say what you want to say. All I know is this is who I'm rooting for. I said Baishal, HBCU transfer, going to Virginia Tech, and he looks amazing. This was a video I posted February of 2023. And then yesterday, he runs a 4.3 240 at the combine, well over 200 pounds of muscle, and everybody starts sending me DMs. Rico, how do you feel about this? How do you feel? I watched this man for years. I put you on early. Now, when you watch this video, the picture and the emblem for today's show was a guy named Dillon Thieneman, right? I'm going to show you that picture below me right there. Dillon Thieneman. And just like Baishal, Dillon Thieneman, I did a video on this young man 2 years ago. 2 years ago, before he ever played a game at Purdue. Well, how'd you do that, Rico? Well, I was watching every single football team's spring game. And when I was watching the spring game, I saw this kid do amazing things. Now, I don't just watch the field. I don't just watch practice. I don't just watch games. I also watch interviews. Coaches' interviews, players' interviews, and I listen to what they say. I do this for every team in America. It's weird. It's like I do it for a living. And while I was listening to all of the praises and the accolades and all the greatness, I said, guys, this is a true freshman, probably going to start. And I think he's better than his brothers. And shout out to both of his brothers, former walk-ons, became team captains. The Thieneman family is Purdue through and through. And I thought, you know what? He's probably too good to be at Purdue. That's what it is. He's too good to be at Purdue, but they're so dedicated to the brand, and they did him so right. And then Ryan Walters is the head coach. You want to go play for a defensive coordinator, a head coach who developed first-round corners, first-round defensive backs. So you say, I'm going to go do this. And the young man proves me right, makes me a prophet. But I called it 2 years early. Where you been? I'm on Twitter every single day. And I write in there, hidden gem. Hidden gem. And some of y'all ain't listening. Some of you, you guys think you know better. I don't know why the camera went out of focus right now. I got a new setup. I'm dealing with a new mouse tonight. You guys know this. I'm doing my own production, my own thing. We're going to get to talking. We're going to get to yapping. But I just need you guys to understand. I'm trying to put you on early, and you don't care. Shout out to TikTok. We got 7 people watching. Shout out to YouTube. Some of you guys know what you're doing. Some of you are up in this joint. Hopefully not. When you're working. One guy told me, Rico, I watch you, and my wife wants to know why you're so angry. Bruh, keep me away from your wife, or keep your wife away from me. I'm just letting you know that right now. I don't need that in my life. I'm living a good life, bro. Don't talk about your wife around me. Just letting you know. What's up? All right. Let's talk about this for a second here. Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate you guys. We're going to talk about defensive backs in the transfer portal, those who just signed, those who just transferred, and who's available as well. But before we get into that, if you ever want to know when a podcast is going to be on, if you ever want to know what my premium videos look like, go get Patreon. It's right here, bro. Patreon, become an MVP. It's free. You can just join it, and you'll see the transfer portal updates. But you can also, you can watch the results show that we did last night. You can also become an MVP. Get the goods. Get all my picks for college football. Get all my picks for UFC. We had a rough weekend, but we definitely have been dominating for the better part of the last 2 years now. And it's, you know, it's a community of people. Shout out to them. We have well over 6,000 members across YouTube and Patreon. And I ain't talking about subscribers and followers. I'm talking about members, bro. The members. Hit the join button. See what it's really about. Shout out to them. Thank you guys for making my life possible. I appreciate each and every one of you. Patreon. It's an app. Just like OnlyFans. Go download it. I keep my clothes on. You get no nipples from me. But RicoKnows. I'll get you straight. All right. Shout out to you. Let's go. The mouse is not responding. That's new. All right. Just so you know, it's right here. I'm on Twitter. RicoKnows TikTok. All one word. RicoKnows TikTok. I'm on Twitter. Oh, Rico, who's your favorite defensive backs? Here they are. Posted. I posted this right before the show started an hour ago. My top 20 defensive backs in order. You can see them. Show more. You can see all 20. And then some others. And then I write here, hey, more names will be added. I'll continue to evaluate all the players. I evaluate all of them. But that's a post. You want to see something else, though? I did a post. Oh, by the way, shout out to Grady Kinsey. Grady Kinsey, one of my high school film review guys, told you FBS offers need to come in. He's since gotten several FBS offers since we reviewed him, and he got one from Army. Word. There's my boy Joshua Coleman. Just did a high school film review on him on TikTok this week. He's got 5 offers. JMU, Jacksonville State, Ball State, Georgia State, and Coastal Carolina. Excuse me, yes, Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers. That's UFC outrage. Don't worry about that. That's UFC outrage. Oh, by the way, there's 5'8" Jimmy Horn. There's 4'6", fastest Colorado player in the world, Jimmy Horn. Jokers, man. They didn't prep right. That's a whole nother story. That's me just putting some players on, trying to get them signed to Division III or NAIA schools. Doesn't matter who's looking. That's me bragging about how much money I make. That's what it is. And then here's the post that you want to see right here. Top 25 defensive backs available in the transfer portal. Who's still in the transfer portal? Who's available? I have them in order. And when you click on it, top 25, and then look what I did, dude. I was sick, bro. You can't give me time. I was sick. The next 60 guys in the transfer portal in rank order. You know how many coaches started watching this, reading this, and going through it, and sending me DMs and saying, yo, Rico, thanks for the work. Thanks for the work. Position coaches, thanks for the work, Rico. I went through and evaluated every single one of these players. It took me, I think, 3 or 4 days of just grinding. If you watch me on TikTok Live, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sitting here, music on, just grinding, watching every single player. It's an amazing feeling, okay? And just getting through it, and I'm like, yo, why is this guy here? Why is this guy here? Who believes in this guy? All this shit, right? But the best available player right now in the transfer portal is Jameer Johnson. Shout out to Jameer Johnson. This young man decided to go hit the portal and go get paid. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Excuse me. Some of you guys are thinking, why are they still in the portal? I thought the portal was closed. Well, the portal's closed from entering. Once you're in there, you're in, bro. It's cool. It's like the club, right? They close the door. Nobody else can come in. You can still dance all night. You still got to figure out who you're taking home. You got time. These gentlemen here, chances are they're May graduates, so they got to finish school at their previous school before they can transfer. That's number one. They want to be postgraduate transfers. Number two, some of them might be recovering from an injury, stay in rehab at their current school. They might be waiting for a particular school to release players from their exit meetings. If you're not aware, after spring football, these teams will have exit meetings. They will be getting rid of players. there's going to be, and I'll talk about it later in the show, there's going to be a hearing, the House versus NCAA, as far as NIL goes, collectives, and how we're going to sign players to contracts and do revenue sharing. All that's going to go official April 7th, okay? And I'll probably be doing videos on this on TikTok, and I'll talk to you guys about April 7th, and what's going to happen is that's the final, what's the word? The final appeal hearing, and then everything will go into effect or by law, and then at that point, players will be getting cut. Whether they like it or not, they're going to be getting cut because of scholarship limitations and things of this nature. But some of these players are FBS caliber starters. There's no doubt in my mind they will be starting. As a matter of fact, I think the top 25 here are probably FBS caliber. They are. Now, some are going to get pushed to the FCS, and they don't realize it yet. Some of these knuckleheads, they're sitting around going, yo, I got an offer from Sam Houston. I got an offer from La Tech, and they're not taking it. They're literally, and listen to me, they're literally ignorant, uninformed on the process. Somebody's advising them incorrectly, completely incorrectly. Like, they don't know what they're doing. There is no way in the world, if you have an offer, a committable offer, that you should be sitting around waiting for other offers. There's just no way. There's no way. Not right now, bro. The seats are taken. Seats are taken. You're running out, bro. It's 2 a.m. Look around. You're about to go home empty-handed. You're about to go home to Rosie. Look around. It's 2 a.m. Yep. You're 8. What are you? You're 23? 24? Hey, that 37-year-old on the dance floor with that Michelin rubber tire, she looking all right, bro. You got to come up on something. Denzel said he ain't leaving. He leaving with something. Jameer Johnson's a stud. He can play anywhere. He was a starting corner for Indiana this year, opposite of D'Angelo Pons, right? So if teams don't want to throw at Pons, they throw at Jameer Johnson. He made a lot of good plays. I like him. Hershey, McLaurin, turn on the tape. Halsey's amazing at Houston. McLaurin's very good. Another great kid that I see on tape. Dontavius Nash really surprised me. I watched the tape. His size is imposing, and I don't think he has the production warranted for number 3, but I put him there because I really, really like his tape. I like the way he looks. I think he would improve a lot of defensive back rooms. Antonio Stevens, starting corner at Purdue this year, jumped in the portal late. Obviously, his coach departed, and those players are all departing, leaving, whatever you want to call it. Oscar Moore, another physically imposing guy, leaving UTEP. Somewhere to go. He's a safety, beast of a man. Trey Williams started multiple years at Air Force. He can play. He's just small in stature. And if you go to listen, guys, these rankings, they have nothing to do with 24/7 Sports. If you go to 24/7 Sports or On3, they don't have them in this order because they haven't evaluated the player. They don't know what they're doing. Even if they evaluated the players, they wouldn't have them in this order because they don't know what they're doing, bro. It's some nerd who's sitting there with his glasses. I'm looking for a back pedal and a hip turn, and he gets out of his brakes really well, and he pushes toward. They use all this bullshit terminology to try to impress you. They use the same terminology you're going to hear in mock drafts and Mel Kiper Jr. and all these other guys talking. Bruh, they just don't know how to assess individuals. That's my gift. I can look at 2 dudes and be like, yo, you could beat him up. Hey, you could beat him on a go route. Hey, you could beat him on a comeback. I think he's going to bite on a post corner. His hips are stiff. You feel me? That quarterback right there, he doesn't have what I call collision courage. You guys know what collision courage is? The ability to step up in the pocket and throw it knowing you're going to take the hit. It's an invaluable trait quarterbacks need to have. Courage to take the hit. And some guys just can't visualize. They can't see it on tape. I see it all day. I'm just letting you know. I know I sound like one of them old dudes at the table in Moneyball, but I'm just keeping it real. Some of these kids suck at what they do. And then there's me, right? Elijah Culp, good player, small, undersized, but a very good player at Charlotte. He kind of showed out. Speaking of small, Tori Daffin, Nevada kid, beast. He can play anywhere, I think. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's competitive. If you turn on the tape, it was Watts at linebacker and this kid right here, Culp, and another kid. He's on the list down here. Where's the other Nevada kid? He's just fucking built. Keyshawn Cobb, bro. He's yoked. He looks like he comes from Herschel Walker's family tree. I'm just letting you know. Keyshawn Cobb looks like a dude. He looks like Head and Shoulders, bro. He's swole. Looks around. He got that flat top haircut. And he's like, yo, what's up? Where we going? And you want that dude to go take some lunch money. Beast of a player. And all these guys, I don't want to go down the whole list, but I evaluated these guys, put them in order, and how much I really thought of them and appreciated them. Some of them are amazing. Some of these kids are out of touch with reality. Keeping it real. Some of these young men are out of touch with reality. They're not any good. Right around down here, I start saying, you're not going to be playing FBS level football. Be realistic. You're not playing FBS. You know what? As a matter of fact, let me say this. Probably from Raion, who's a Holy Cross kid. I like him. He's a senior guy. He's a bigger safety. He played a lot. You know what? No, these are good kids. These are big size kids. Let's go Isaiah Holland down. I highly doubt they find FBS teams. Like Josiah Dye, he's a running back. He's a 4.3 guy on a laser. He's special, but he didn't play at all for UTEP. So what do I do? I like the kid, but he didn't play. So what do we do? Like, these guys don't belong here, dude. They're not FBS caliber players. So maybe I'm doing the work for some of these FCS teams grabbing some guys. But that's who's available in the portal. If you want to see posts like this, get to Twitter, follow RicoKnows TikTok, all one word. RicoKnows TikTok, and you will see me talk about Freddie Brock. I talked about Freddie Brock 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I talked about Freddie Brock. And now they're talking about him transferring. Now they want to put his name in their mouth. Now Chris Hummer wants to talk about Freddie Brock. 2 years ago, bro. Ask the MVPs. It's posted 2 years ago. Anyways, enough of that. Shout out to my boys. Let's talk about the transfer portal. By the way, if you have questions, comments, anything about the players, about defensive backs, put it in the chat. I will jump to the chat when I get done with a certain list. And then I jump to the chat, read all your comments and questions, then I go back. Okay? So it's very important that you guys do that. Thank you. Let's go here. Defensive backs. What am I looking at here? Oh, I just talked about all these guys, the available players. We're good. All right, let's talk about the latest transfers. You have one here in Jaden Hobson going to Alabama. Oh, my God, Rico. There's a player signed to Alabama. He's amazing. No, he's not. Shout out to Jaden Hobson. This is a young man coming out of high school. He signed with Mississippi State. Didn't play at Mississippi State. Then he went to South Alabama last year. I don't think he played at South Alabama. Now he's back in the portal again, and now he's going to Alabama. Congratulations. You're signing a recruit. A body. He's 6'5", 300 pounds. You want to work with him? Got it. I'm going to tell you guys something about these offensive linemen. These websites have no clue how to evaluate these offensive linemen. I vividly can tell you this story. I was at a camp. I've talked about this before, but it got worse because the best center in America, Langston Hogg, is still a 3-star player. Best center in America. Got offers from all kinds of schools. I don't know how many offers he has, but it's an insane amount. And they're still just, he's only 6'2", 280, 290, whatever he is. Rico, he's not a 5-star. He's a 5-star player. Best center in America. I'm not kidding. Not kidding. And he went to a camp, and he dominated the 5-stars in front of him. Dominated them. And I was like, I was so impressed with this kid. I said, holy shit, this kid's amazing. Cartersville, Georgia. So this kid's amazing. And the worst offensive lineman, the very worst, he was 6'8", or 6'7", 320 pounds. This monster of a kid. Couldn't move his feet, off balance, falling everywhere. Couldn't do shit, bro. I looked at him and said, what is he doing here? He was dominated on every single rep by every single player at the camp. The worst player. I remember he went home and he immediately he committed to Boston College. And I thought, what is he doing? How did he get an offer from Boston College? This kid sucks. Not an FBS level player. I'm talking FCS at best. I wouldn't push him to an FCS staff. I wouldn't tell an FCS staff this kid is good. This week, 24/7 Sports gave him 4 stars. This week he got elevated to 4 stars because he's committed to Boston College. They elevated him to 4 stars. I'm telling you, there is a 4-star player on the recruiting websites that can't play football. Can't play football. He'll never play a single down for Boston College. Not one play. Not a field goal, not a punt, not an extra point. He'll never see the field. I don't know if he'll ever get a jersey. You watch. Langston Hogg, it's a Sunday player. That's a Sunday player. I only do this. I'm here. I'm only here every single week. The dudes making these decisions, the people making these evaluations, they get fired every year. Whether it's a coach, player personnel, an editor, a scout, they get fired every year from a website, from a school. Guess who doesn't get fired? This guy. And just feel free to come back and let me know how accurate I am. Connor Formula lets me know every day, bro. I'm telling you right now, you ever needed a hype man? It's Connor Formula. That dude tells me, Rico, you predicted that, and I forget. I forget. All right, we're going to look at enrolled players. We're going to look at enrolled players here. You guys know the deal. I have so many players to talk about. I typically do it without notes. I typically do it without anything. I do have notes in front of me. I don't read them. They're actually too much to even try to read. But I'll talk to you about Joshua Eaton here. Former Oklahoma kid, right? So he went to Oklahoma, couldn't get on the field. 3 years, 7 tackles. And Oklahoma's defensive backs were utter trash. We know this. So this is a young man coming out of high school. You go over there and you're not seeing the field and you're terrible. So you do the right thing. You transfer from Oklahoma and you go to Texas State. And then when you get to Texas State, let's be very clear. You're not an immediate starter. You're not far and away better than anybody. You're just not. So you go to Texas State. You're not the starter out of the spring. You're not the starter out of the fall. Eventually, you become the starter. And then this year, he started. All 12 games. And there's this PFF thing where PFF claims this man forced incompletions, not pass breakups. He forced incompletions at a rate that other people couldn't do. He finished 7th among among group of 5 corners at forced incompletions, whatever that means. Shout out to PFF. You suck, bro. I don't listen to you guys. All right. So the young man got all this praise, and he decides, I'm going to go hit the portal. And it's his 6th year, okay? 6th year next year. I bring all this up because in 6 years of college football, this man has never had an interception. Never. Oh, Rico, interceptions aren't everything. No! You got one job as a corner, bro. 6 years, you couldn't pick off one. This man hasn't had an interception since high school. Me and him have the same amount of interceptions. The fuck are we doing, bro? And they got him ranked number 1, made him 4 stars. Do I have to tell you how good Mansoor Delane is down here? How many interceptions he has? This guy is a bench warmer. But he's looked really good at Texas State. All right, let's talk about it, because I did some research. I'm going to tell you that he went, first game of the season, started against Lamar. No interceptions. No interceptions. Lamar, I'm going to go look it up real quick. I have it here in front of me. Lamar threw, what do I got? 237 yards. 34 attempts. You can't get one of those? You're supposed to be some power. You're a 4-star. Top-rated corner in the whole fucking portal. Can't pick off Lamar? Well, they didn't throw to him, Rico. They said it was only 17 completions. Yeah, his PFF coverage rating was 60, bro. I know guys on this list in the 80s, and I don't like PFF, but if there's somebody at 60 and there's somebody at 80, and you play in the group of 5, next game, they play UTSA. Oh, Rico, UTSA's got a great quarterback. Yeah, they do. McCown, great quarterback. That's not who he played against. He played against a guy named Eddie Lee Marburger, who, by the way, threw a pick in that game. He didn't get it. His teammates did. Next week, Sam Levitt, Arizona State. Okay, they found a way to lose that game. Sam Levitt, by the way, threw a pick in that game. Eaton didn't get it. Next game, who was it? Hunter Watson. Sam Houston. Hunter Watson doesn't throw a pick to you. Next game against Troy, Tucker Kilcrease, a backup quarterback. You don't pick him off. Jalen Rayner, Arkansas State. You don't get the interception. He threw one. ODU, Colton Joseph. I want you to listen to these quarterbacks, bro. These quarterbacks. Ben Woolridge, Louisiana, good quarterback. This is who he's up against. Aiden Armenta. I'll let you guess what school he's from. For 500, Alex. Aiden Armenta. ULM. Homie threw an interception. He's terrible. Joshua Eaton doesn't get those. Tate Rodemaker, Southern Miss. Doesn't pick him off. He threw an interception. Doesn't pick him off. Chris Villieu, the Canadian at Georgia State. Doesn't pick him off. As a matter of fact, Chris Villieu against that secondary threw for 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. What are we doing? That's what he's a part of. Oh, Rico, I'm just evaluating him individually. Well, I know Gio Lopez threw 2 picks in the next game against South Alabama. He didn't get those interceptions. And then in the bowl game, this freshman quarterback, Drew Mestemaker for North Texas, shows up and throws 400 yards. It was 393, but he throws for like 400 yards. 2 interceptions. Joshua Eaton's got none of it. None of it. This dude is... who's ranking these guys? Excuse me. Who's ranking these guys? Julian Humphrey. Julian Humphrey. Hey, if you ever are going to war, don't take Julian Humphrey with you. Don't. Julian Humphrey's a quitter, bro. A quitter. He quit on his team. If you guys don't remember the tweet, Julian Humphrey got on Twitter and let the world know he was transferring from Georgia. This was just a few days before the SEC championship. This is a young man who started 10 games for Georgia. Then against UMass, he's getting his ass beat, and he loses his starting job to Daniel Harris. And I want to make this point. Daniel Harris gets the starting job, and Julian Humphrey quits the team. What if Daniel Harris did the same thing? What if Daniel Harris quit because he started the season as the backup the whole year? Daniel Harris was second string for 10 weeks. He didn't quit. But Julian Humphrey quits on his team in the middle of a playoff run. And, you know, they interviewed Malachi Starks. And they said, what do you think about this? And Malachi Starks said, oh, this is crazy timing. Crazy timing? Guys, Malachi Starks is a Georgia kid through and through. Grew up, played at Jefferson. He only wanted to play for the Bulldogs. The players at Georgia don't want to play for anybody else. And Julian Humphrey, he's a Texas kid. He's the reason they lost to Alabama. Ryan Williams beat him for 75 yards with 2 minutes left in the game. This is the bum who gave it up. Quitting on your team, bro. I'll never want that dude on my locker room. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. I want this dude in my locker room. And shout out to Kirby Smart. Because when they asked Kirby about it, they said, Kirby, what's the status for Julian Humphrey for the SEC championship game? And Kirby said, there is no status. We only talk about the players that play. We only talk about the players that want to be here and represent Georgia. There's no status. We only talk about the players who want to win and play and put it on the line in 8 overtimes. I'm quoting him still. And that's just the thing. Julian Humphrey didn't get to play in the 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech. They never leaned on him. They didn't need him. I don't like people who quit on their teammates. I don't care The young man is talented. How talented? He's talented. And obviously A&M jumped on him. But you know what's crazier? Is Julian Humphrey was going to jump in the portal after the 2023 season. He was. And then he decided not to because he found out he was going to be the starter. That's Julian Humphrey for you. He was going to be in the portal the year before, and then he backed out. I don't like people like that, bro. Keep threatening me with divorce, you need to roll out. Say it one time, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like if you grab your keys and you start posturing like you're walking out the door, not only am I going to tell you don't let it hit you on the way out, I'm not going to help you pack. You leave everything here, bro. Just walk out. You're gone. Don't come back. Don't come back. I made this whole thing possible. Don't come back. Good luck, A&M. You know how to pick them, bro. And I tell you guys this all the time. I've told you this for what? 2 years now? 3 years. 3 years now, I've told you guys, there are certain teams that sign players I don't like. It's like they just have the wrong assessment of players. And what's crazy about it is that was Jimbo Fisher's staff that was signing all the wrong players. To me, I would go on here and be like, yo, that guy's a criminal. That guy's terrible. I would never bring that guy in my locker room. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're evaluating. And all those guys got fired. Now you have a staff that I believe in, theoretically, and they're reverting right back to the bullshit. Signing players I would never sign. Micah Hudson, Julian Humphrey. What are you doing? What are your values? What do you like? Next one, Cameron Calhoun. I'm going to get to the chat once I get done with, how far down am I going to go? I think I'm going down to, I'll go to Strader, and then I'll go to the chat. Cameron Calhoun. I don't know why he's ranked this high. This is silly. Going to Utah, or from Utah to Alabama. Listen to me, guys. I went and looked this kid up. I wanted to go see his tape, so I went and got his huddle tape, his high school stuff. And what's crazy to me is while I was watching him, they said he was a multi-sport athlete. So I wanted to see what kind of multi-sport athlete he was. They said he ran track. And you guys got to know something, man. When I look at defensive backs and they ran track, I'm like, all right, what did he run? They said he ran hurdles. Well, that's bad news for you because I ran hurdles. So I really know what kind of speed it takes to be good at the hurdles. Like I know if a guy gives me a time, I know how fast he is. I know how fast you are in the 100. I know how fast you are in the 40. I know how fast you are in the 400. You get what I'm saying? I just know. So this dude's PR in the 300 intermediate hurdles was 40 seconds. 40.24 seconds. Guys, I ran faster than that in high school. I was 16 years old. He ran that as a sophomore. I was 16 years old. I ran a 39.9. I set my school record. His 110 high hurdles time is 15.39. My twin brother, who I don't like at all, ran a 14.9. Faster than this dude. This dude is just an average athlete. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you guys are talking about. I'm letting you know. Either I'm an FBS player when I'm in high school and I just decided to join the Army, or this dude isn't that great of an athlete. I'm telling you, those times aren't elite athlete times. It's the equivalent of hearing somebody ran an 11.5 100 meters. And then they try to tell me they're a corner. And I'm just looking at them like, bro, you run an 11.5 100 meters and you're a corner. That's this dude right here. Well, maybe he had terrible form in the hurdles. Maybe. I doubt it. I'm not impressed. So remember, coming out of high school, this is a young man that signed with Michigan, didn't get on the field. Then he goes to Utah last year, plays in 11 games, has 1 start. And now he's magically a 4-star. What? This is a 3-star kid coming out of high school. What has he done on a Saturday that warrants getting a 4th star? Fucking crazy. And to see his rating higher than Delane here. Delane is an all-ACC honorable mention. Delane has been playing for 3 years at Virginia Tech, 6 interceptions, 146 tackles. This is laughable, bro. This shit is embarrassing. This is crazy. Shout out to Cameron Calhoun. If you have improved and you're amazing and you're a late bloomer, congrats, bro. I ain't see shit that moved me. Alabama is returning both starting corners. So where's this kid going to see the field? What are we talking about? 1 interception all year against Utah State. Against Bryson Barnes, the old Utah quarterback. That's it. But what it is, let me tell you guys what it is. His high school teammate just signed with Alabama. His old high school teammate, Justin Hill. I went and watched the tape. Justin Hill went to the same high school. I want to go play with my boy. I want to go be, we're going to Michigan. We're going to Alabama. Just keep naming the FBS schools you can't play at. Keep naming the FBS schools you're not good enough to start at. Cameron Calhoun, bro. Good luck, bro. Good luck. I assess talent for a living. Mansoor Delane. Complete stud. LSU got a baller. LSU addressed their secondary. You see these 3 guys right here? Fucking monsters, bro. Monsters. And they're all better than the dudes ahead of them. I guess you could argue Julian Humphrey's better, but I don't like his attitude. These guys are good. All 3 of them. LSU signed 3 stud players. They have to. They need a lot of help in the secondary. But I'm telling you guys, when I look at LSU transfer portal additions, they're great. They look really good. I'd say LSU looks like a top 4 team in the SEC. And I know you're doing it. You're like, Rico, wait, there's Georgia, Texas, Alabama, there's Missouri. Like, you guys keep naming all these other teams, and I'm going, Auburn and LSU look so improved. I know what I'm saying. Shout out to them. Mansoor Delane, I think he's a complete stud. Known commodity. Played for a long time. And then you have Jakeem Jackson coming over from Florida. No surprise. So Jakeem Jackson is actually the starting corner for Florida. He started 2 games, got injured, missed the rest of the season. But he earned the starting job coming out of camp. So he's really good. But what this all comes down to is Corey Raymond coming back to LSU. If you guys don't know Corey Raymond, he was the secondary coach at Florida for the last 2 years. But before that, he was at LSU as the defensive backs coach for like 2012 to 2021. So he's just back at home, and he brought everybody with him. And I love it. So you're talking about a guy who's bringing in his Louis luggage. Corey Raymond is knocking it out the park, getting great players, and Jakeem Jackson is a starting caliber corner if he recovers from his injury. So I'm excited for that. Then we got Tamarcus Cooley here. Shout out to Tamarcus Cooley, leaving NC State, going to LSU. This is a guy who, I want to say his freshman year, he was at Maryland, redshirted, no big deal. Transfers to NC State, starts playing, and I turn on the tape, and he just looks mean. Excuse me, I'm under the weather. He looks mean, bruh. On tape. 5'11", 205, packs a punch, causing fumbles, recovering fumble. Like, he's just doing everything. He's everywhere. Like the kid. And LSU losing 3 safeties to the transfer portal is a big deal. They need one, and it's a good kid. Who's the Gilbert kid is coming back? And then the other kid, Toviano. Gilbert and Toviano with Cooley. It sounds like a decent safety room. I like it. Good signing, okay? Devonta Smith, leaving Alabama. No relation to the wide receiver. Leaving Alabama, going to Notre Dame. Very good player. Very good player. I watched him. He's not one of those guys that's like all over the tape. Like he's starting every game or anything. No, he's a good player, man. He's so good you can't keep him off the field. You know, for first 3 seasons at Alabama, I go and look it up. I'm trying to find his plays. I'm looking at all these old Alabama games. He only played 57 snaps first 3 seasons. This year, over 400. Just really waited his turn, came into, his moment, and he looks good. Over I think it was 10th on the team in tackles. Over 400 plays played. And now you're going to Notre Dame, who just lost Clark and the other kid, I'm forgetting his name, but they need him, and they know what to do with him. So he's going to a winning program. I love it. Oh, Northwestern. Rod Hurd the third. It rhymes. It's a bad time. So I like that signing a lot. Shout out to Notre Dame. You got yourselves a hell of a player. Devonta Smith's going to be on the field. Ameriyun Knighten, I don't understand this increase in the ranking. I went and watched the tape. Obviously playing in the MAC for Northern Illinois. Good player for Northern Illinois for the last 3 years. He won't start for Indiana, and I don't know if he even – I don't know. I don't get it. It's a depth addition. It's not a bad signing by Indiana. It's just a bad ranking by 24/7 Sports. Like, he doesn't belong up here. Not at all. He's not better than any of these guys for a while. Like, he's just not. It's no knock on him, and I don't want to knock him because I think he's a good player, and I think it's a good depth signing for sure. He's just not DJ Harvey or Raion Strader. Like, Strader's one of the very, very best corners. Strader is an NFL corner. NFL corner. And to see him down here underneath Ameriyun Knighten is kind of weird. It's just out of place. I don't know what they're doing. That's silly. Okay? Just keeping it real. DJ Harvey, Southern California kid, leaving San Jose. He had some choices to go to other places, but obviously it's his dream to go to USC. So he's going to USC. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He could have went to Arizona. Went with his old coaching staff, but you don't want to go to Arizona, man. It's just it's a shithole right now. And no knock on Arizona. Yes, I'm going to knock their head coach. They coach like they're still in the fucking WAC, and the WAC doesn't exist, okay? It's been terrible what I've seen from them at Arizona, and knowing that they're ballers on a budget because of the athletic department being in shambles due to budgeting and all this other stuff and fraud. DJ Harvey picking USC is probably a good move. They need him. Now, he played a ton at San Jose. I think he was second team All-Mountain West. Good player, man. I turned on the tape. He looked sharp. But I think he's going to play nickel. I should take that back. If he's not a starter, he will be the starting nickel. Let me rephrase that, right? And they're going to be competing with the UCF transfer, Johnson, Chase and Johnson. Like, those two guys are the truth. So I think it's good depth in the secondary for them. But it is what it is. He's not a bad player, though. Very good player. I like him a lot. So there you go. Raion Strader, probably the best. I'm so hesitant to say he's the best corner. Yeah, he's the best corner that I've talked about so far today. I think he's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Somebody missed here coming out of high school because he goes straight to Miami of Ohio. The minute he gets to Miami of Ohio, he's a starter. And I tell you guys this every single year. In the offseason, I go over all the players. I go over every position group on every team. So, like, I'll look at every wide receiver at a particular school or every defensive back at a particular school. I look at every single position group. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and I make podcast episodes on this stuff. And when I go look at defensive backs at Miami of Ohio, right, I get there and I watch this kid, and he has 12 pass breakups, guys. That's insane that he gets to the ball that much. 12 his freshman year. And I go, wow, if he gets double-digit pass breakups his freshman year, he can't do that every year. It's just impossible. Well, last year, he had 17. That's Quinyon Mitchell status right there. That's a problem. So to see a guy dominating the MAC like that, you can't throw to his side. He's amazing. He's got over 50 tackles every year. He's not afraid to get in the box and do things. He's just everywhere, man. This is a Pittsburgh kid. I thought he was going to go to Pitt when he hit the transfer portal. He's from Pittsburgh. And he's from PA. And I'm like, man, where's he going to go? He's going to Auburn. He's getting paid. I'm not sitting around going to Pitt. I'm going to go to Auburn. So probably Penn State should have looked into him as well. This is the best player that I reviewed in the last 2 weeks. Skill for skill, I think he's amazing. I really do. And I don't mean to talk crazy because I know some of you guys think I just be saying stuff. But I'm letting you know, the website's got it all wrong. He's amazing. And he should be like a 5-star. He's fucking that good. To put him below Joshua Eaton, who can't get an interception to save his life, is just crazy. You know why he's below Joshua Eaton? Because Joshua Eaton's 6'2". That's all it is. He's 6 foot. This dude's 6'2", and they like 6'3" corners. It's silly. Silly bullshit like that. Outrageous. All right, I'm going to jump to the chat now. Thank you guys for being here. If you're watching on YouTube or TikTok, move over to YouTube. Drop it in the chat, and we'll go. Give me a second here. I have to hit interact just to see what the chat says. Ooh, we got no chat tonight. That's perfect. I get back on my show. Connor says, if Jalen Catalon stays healthy, big if, do you think he can be an all-SEC safety? So, sure. I think he's a great safety, by the way. I apologize he's not in the rankings. I just haven't had a chance to evaluate him. I know how good he is. I'm very aware of what he did at UNLV last year and what he used to do at Arkansas and Texas. The thing is I'm hesitant to say people are going to be all conference anything. A couple things need to happen. Number one, yes, health is important. But when you start projecting all conference teams, the way the media does, the way the Twitter talking heads do, what you're doing is you have no regard for the opposition, or you have no regard for who they're actually facing, right? A lot of these guys get all conference because they led the conference in a particular category, if you will. They get all their stats in the preseason. Like, seriously, you led the SEC in sacks, but they were all in against teams in the preseason. So you're first team defensive end, but it's because you got 3 sacks against an FCS team in week 2 or 3. That's crazy, right? That's absolutely absurd. And so I don't like to do that. Jalen Catalon is a hell of a player, though. I think he's great. There you go. Donnie says, surprised there's no Fresno State defensive back on there. You're looking at one of the rosters, one of the lists. There is a Fresno State defensive back who transferred to Stanford. I'll be talking about him shortly when we get back to the show. Once I start talking about all the players that are committed, I will say this, though. His name is Julian Neal. I did not think very highly of Julian Neal. I watched the tape, and I'm not sure why he was given a 4th star other than his metrics. Once again, being 6'4", 200 pounds, they just assume he's got to be a really good corner because nothing I've seen on a Saturday warrants it at all. Nothing special. I watched the tape, and I'm like, ugh, this guy isn't good. This isn't Power 5 starter. No, he's going to Stanford, and if he started for Stanford, there might be a problem. And there is a problem. Stanford's not very good. So it is what it is. But for the recruiting websites to go out there and move the guy to 4 stars is nuts. Nuts. It's just them all trying to guess who's going to be a draft pick someday. They're not ranking these guys on how well they're going to play on Saturday. They just want to be right that they identified draft picks early. So they'll do anyone with NFL metrics. They'll just rank them higher than the other guy. So what they do, just so they can say they got it right years in advance, and then they'll go back and change the rankings quietly 2, 3, 4, 5 years later when they miss. Do it all the time. If there's a guy in the NFL right now that's an all-pro, just go and watch, and they will have changed his rating on their website. Yeah, it'll be fucking hilarious. Dude will be a 3-star, and then all of a sudden you go back and check him, he's a 4-star. You'd be like, what? When did this happen? When you weren't looking? It's fucking nuts. GFT says, twins beefing, that's rare. I don't know what you're talking about, but I can tell you right now, that's not rare at all. Twins, they might project their connection and all that. I'm an identical twin. I can tell you right now, ain't no beef. You can't have beef with me. You can't even get into my neighborhood, bro. You can't have beef with me. Can't even get past the entrance to my neighborhood. It is what it is. All right, I'll get back to the show now. Let's talk about the DBs that are currently committed. Dillon Thieneman. I told you guys he was the best safety in America. I think he could start in the NFL right now. So he could start for NFL teams. He's just going to start for Oregon next year, which is fine. Shout out to Oregon. They went out and got themselves another starting safety. Remember, last year they did the same thing with Strange and the other kid. What's his name? Johnson. I just threw out a random Johnson. No, it is Johnson. But Strange and Johnson. Dillon Thieneman. I told you guys before he ever played a game, this is the best kid around. Like, I just think he's great. And sure enough, 100 tackles his freshman year. He was the National Freshman Player of the Year. Not the Big Ten, which he was, but the National Freshman Player of the Year. He was amazing. Over 100 tackles, 6 interceptions, beast. And then he was the 3rd most interceptions in all of the FBS his freshman year. Then last year, he leads the entire Big Ten among defensive backs in tackles, 104 tackles again. So he's just amazing. So seeing him go to Oregon, no surprise. Complete stud. Congratulations to Oregon. Now, let's talk about Xavier Lucas. Oh, my God. Number one, Xavier Lucas should not be ranked up here. They gave him this crazy ranking. These websites are stupid. Nothing is warranted this. Like, nothing. I don't even think Xavier Lucas will start at Miami. I don't. This is silly. So what's the big news about Xavier Lucas, though? Everybody's been talking about it. Xavier Lucas, Rico, how did he transfer? He didn't jump in the transfer portal. Oh, my God, what did he do? Was he under contract? What's going on? Okay, I'm going to break it all down for you guys, and I'm going to do it the best I can without getting too legal and anything like that, right? So the NCAA, there's like I told you, the final hearing will be April 7 April. But there's something called versus the House, right? NCAA versus the House, and they're going to do this court case. In the court case, they're going to approve revenue sharing. And if you guys don't know what revenue sharing is, it is a school paying players directly. Right now, schools are not paying players directly. Players are getting paid from collectives, NIL deals and collectives. That's what they're getting paid from. It is not a paycheck from the school. Legally, that's not allowed. It's semantics. We get it. The collective is probably being funneled money from people from the school. Got it. But there's a difference when you have an athletic budget and then you start giving players portions of the budget or revenue based upon the budget or the gross revenue of the school, right? So once players start doing revenue sharing, it's a whole nother ballgame. Now, in the lawsuit, which I've read at length, they have capped the revenue sharing at $22 million. So what that means is every team has a salary cap essentially of $22 million that they can use for revenue sharing. They can go way above that if they wanted to. They just call it collectives and NIL. But what this does is this allows schools to just pay the players. And the theory is, moving forward, the players will be under a contract with the school for that revenue sharing. Because if you want to get paid, you got to sign a contract to get paid from the school. Now, the schools are doing that to protect themselves. So in this case, Wisconsin got ahead of the power curve. They got ahead of the curve, and Wisconsin's done this with several players from the transfer portal. They have already predetermined the NIL deal, the revenue sharing deal. And they have signed players to revenue sharing deals to get them to win the recruiting battle out of the transfer portal. So they're signing players to revenue sharing deals, and in conjunction, at the same time, they're signing them to NIL deals just to give them some extra money. But they're doing revenue sharing for these players, and they're going to divvy that pie up to all the players on the roster. Everybody's going to be on a revenue sharing deal. In other words, we got $22 million, up to $22 million, to pay for our roster. Okay. And that's the coolest way they want to go about it. You don't have to ask donors for shit. You don't have to bother anybody. It's just part of the budget. And that's a realistic way moving forward. So Wisconsin went out and they signed everybody to these revenue sharing deals. And Wisconsin says if you're on a revenue sharing deal, technically you're on a contract. You can't transfer from the school. Point blank, period. And what happened is, and what they're alleging happened, is Miami reached out because Xavier Lucas is from 30 minutes away from Miami. So Miami reaches out and says, yo, bro, we'll pay you more than that deal. It won't be a revenue sharing deal, but we got more NIL than Wisconsin. We'll pay you more. Just get the hell out of there, and we'll pay you. But the kid already signed the revenue sharing deal. And Wisconsin said, yo, that's a deal. That's a contract. And we already signed it. And here's the thing. Wisconsin is saying, if you sign that deal with us, we are under the obligation to pay you. You expect us to pay you in full what we promised you, right? Then we expect you to play for us. We got a two-way deal here. I'm going to pay you this much money for the next 2 years. I fully expect you to be here at our school. So when you sign that deal, it turns out the deal is conditions-based. It's not a contract legally. It can't be because the court hearing is not finalized. The court hearing isn't finalized until 7 April. So Wisconsin was actually giving all those players a memorandum, which is fine, but they implied it was a contract. They insinuated and inferred that it's a contract. But it's just a memorandum of understanding. It's a memorandum of agreement, which has no legal binding. And this is very important, because if you want to leave, you could leave. Now, Xavier Lucas went out and hired an attorney. Attorney said, yeah, you can leave. Oh, yeah, that's not legally bound. Now, Wisconsin's been giving this memorandum to all the players who signed the two-way deal. Now, most of the players are excited to get the revenue sharing deal. It's the most money they've ever seen, most they'll ever see. They never got a deal like this from other schools. Some of the players who were getting recruited by multiple schools, Wisconsin beat them out because of the revenue sharing deal. It enabled Wisconsin to promise them a substantial amount of money. Wisconsin's saying they got a piggy bank coming of $22 million, up to $22 million. It's probably less. But Miami ain't playing that shit. Miami said, yo, bro, get in the portal. We got you. Now, that's tampering because he's not in the portal. That's illegal. And Wisconsin got beef about it. But here's why Xavier Lucas was allowed to transfer. When he submitted a request to enter the transfer portal, Wisconsin denied it. They did not process it. And legally, you can't do that. Think of any student in the world that wants to transfer from one school to the next. You're allowed to transfer. So just because you play sports doesn't make you any different. If there's a student right now out of school, you're a student. I'm a student. I was in the Army, man. I was taking classes. I went to 4 different universities by the time I graduated. You move, you got to transfer. No one's stopping you from transferring if you're a student. But apparently, the football players, they don't have that same luxury. They do. They get to transfer if they want to. And that's kind of the gist of it all. That's the kind of why transferring's allowed, is because any school, any student can transfer. So why wouldn't the athletes be allowed to transfer? They're students. Coaches get to move. Coaches got contracts, and they're still moving. There's buyouts. You don't get to hold the players prisoner anymore. But Wisconsin said, no, his request for transfer contradicts his commitment to our program. That's why we didn't process it. He signed a 2-year deal with us under contract that technically doesn't go into effect until April 7th. But he signed a 2-year deal with us, and he was committed to us, and we're committed to him. We fully intend to pay. Legally, though, NCAA bylaws state that when a player requests to enter the transfer portal, you have 48 hours, 2 days. 2 days, you must process the paperwork. So if your coaches don't process the paperwork, they are not in accordance with NCAA bylaws. And your next plan of action, your next step that's authorized, is you can withdraw from the university. You're not held prisoner. They had 2 days to file it. They don't file it within 2 days, you can unenroll at that university. And that's exactly what Xavier Lucas did. He unenrolled at Wisconsin, does not have to transfer, does not have to use the transfer portal. His school failed him. He gets to do whatever he wants, and that's exactly what he did. He unenrolled. And then he went and enrolled at Miami, and then Miami gave him what they promised. Pretty shady deal. All this, let me say this. All this bullshit over a kid who had 12 tackles this year? 12 tackles. 2 pass breakups and an interception at Wisconsin. He ain't 4 stars. He ain't .93. He ain't, dude, these guys down here are grown-ass men. As a matter of fact, the amount of DBs signing at Miami, they're all going to start over this kid. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what the whole thing is, just arguing over the rules and arguing over the fact that Miami is conducting themselves like Miami's out here ruining families and breaking up marriages. They're doing something unethical. It's not illegal. It's just unethical. It's frowned upon in this establishment. That type of shit. Miami don't care, bro. They got money. They're going to flex, and they're going to take players. Not cool. Xavier Lucas, not special. I watched the tape. I don't see anything great. Maybe he'll grow into a special player someday, but I didn't see enough to warrant all this drama. Tacario Davis, 6'4", 190, bro. You know, he could have went to the NFL draft. He had a bad year. Arizona had a bad year. So he's leaving, and he's going to Washington. Shout out to Jed Fish. Jed Fish taking some more of his good players. This is a young man who's got the length to play corner that people want and look for. Started 22 games in a row now for Arizona. I think he's played in 31 of them. I like Tacario Davis. I think he's a good player. And shout out to him, Jacob Manu, and that other Ungalele kid. I can't say his first name. I apologize. I know, no shade. It's TT. I just call him TT. TT Ungalele, Tacario Davis, and Manu are all transferring to Washington following their old coaching staff. By the way, if you're an Arizona fan and you want to know why your team sucks, go back to 2022 when you had your best recruiting class in a very long, like your best recruiting class ever was 2022 at Arizona. They were 25th overall, which is remarkable for Arizona. That's when they got T-Mac. They got Speedy Raion Luke. Another Servite monster, Keon Burnett. They got there's Kevin Green. He left already. Jonah Coleman that year. Look at the players they signed that year. Noah Fafita, Tacario Davis, Jacob Manu, another Servite monster. Wendell Moe, good player. Look at all those great players they signed. Top 25 class. Do you know how many of these players are still on the roster right now? 2022, bro. 2022. They show up. Their freshman year is 23, 24, 25. Oh, man. There are, and I don't want to get it wrong, but there are only 4 players left on this team. I think Sterling Lane is still there. Noah Fafita, that's 2. Stovall, that's 3. And Isaiah Johnson, that's 4. 4 players left from this entire recruiting class. Greatest recruiting class they've ever had, only 4 players left. And obviously, T-Mac left to go pro early. But that's absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Arizona falling off the map. Shout out to Washington, looking great. Speaking of Washington, here's Thaddeus Dixon. Dixon, hey, what? Don't say that last name too slow. Dixon, leaving Washington, going to North Carolina. First thing I want to say to Thaddeus is he's going to North Carolina to get ready to become a pro, right? He's actually following Steve Belichick, the former defensive coordinator at Washington, who moved over to go coach for his dad. And now he's bringing over some Louis luggage with him. Thaddeus Dixon, a young man who played 2 years at Long Beach Community College, and then he played 2 years at Washington. He had 12 starts last year. I think he's a good player. Good size, 6'1", 186. On tape, he looks smooth. Looks like a hell of a player. Listen to me, though. When he jumped in the transfer portal, this guy makes me laugh. He jumped in the portal, and he named his top 4. You guys ready for his top 4? Michigan, who he never went to visit, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Washington. His own school. His old school. He jumped in the portal and then put Washington in his top 4. Fucking outrageous to me. It is what it is. He did it. This is a young man who thought he was going to be in the NFL draft this year. He had used all his eligibility. And then shout out to Diego Pavia. He got the Diego Pavia blanket waiver. So he gets another year of eligibility. Thank his lucky stars. He's not ready for the NFL. So he said, okay, I'm going to go back and see what I can do. And so he took a trip to Ole Miss. That didn't work out. And then he went to NC and he signed with North Carolina. Good player. I don't know if he belongs way up here in the rankings. No. Good player, though. Good signing for North Carolina. It's an improvement. And you got to find replacements for Elijah Huzzy, stuff like that. So it works out. Zachariah Poyser leaving Jacksonville State, going to Miami. I was hoping he would go to West Virginia, go with his coaching staff, Rich Rod and the boys. But he had so much hype and so many people wanted him. You know, 75 tackles, 3 interceptions, some fumble recoveries. He's a nickel corner. And I think they ran a 3-3-5 defense, or was it a 4-2-5? I can't remember right now. But he was on the field all the time as a nickel corner. He played over 600 snaps, even as a nickel. So he's going to be a nickel. I think he starts in Miami. I think he's a complete stud. So shout out to him. His tape looks great. I know LSU wanted him, Georgia wanted him, and Miami gets him. Great tape. Good player. Now let's talk about, maybe that's what happened. I was looking at the tape in order like this. I'm going through the tape, and then I get to Julian Nil, and you see how he's like asleep in this picture? Like, I got to his tape, and I was like, yo, what are we looking at here? What is this? I think it's a recruiting miss. I think it's one of those COVID recruits. Okay? So he didn't get to do the whole COVID season because of football, blah, blah, blah. You know, California, they canceled their football because of COVID. So coming out of high school, he had 3 offers. Eastern Washington, FCS, Fresno State, and San Jose State. Cool, bro. He gets to Fresno State, and he is not even a bona fide starter. Like, he's not. I know he's big. I know he got 2 interceptions, but he's not. He had 9 tackles in 2023. His only year was last year, and I don't see it. I don't see it, bro. I don't. He's started 4 games in his whole career. 4. And he's transferring to Stanford. Stanford needs players. If you guys don't know, Stanford struggles to get transfers because they can only sign postgraduate transfers for the most part. They have been getting some undergraduates, but Stanford doesn't care about football. Stanford wants to be one of the premier universities on the planet Earth. And academically, they're not going to lower their standards or look for anybody trying to transfer in to get a degree from Stanford if you didn't attend Stanford for 4 years. They're just not giving you a degree. So they want all the players. Now, they say that they made a few exceptions in the last 2 years, but literally 2 years ago was the first time they ever had an undergraduate transfer. 2 years ago. They're just not playing with you. They're not doing it. So shout out to Julian Nil for getting into Stanford. It's pretty awesome. But football-wise, I don't know what he's doing up here. I don't know about that 4th star. I don't know. And nothing. You started 4 games at Fresno State last year, and you're now a 4-star. You're now the guy. It's fucking wild to me. Cisse doesn't matter. Went back to school. Ethan O'Connor. I turn on the tape. I think he's an absolute monster. You heard it here. I think he's a complete stud. Absolutely great. 12 pass breakups, 32 tackles, runs like the wind. Played over 750 snaps last year. He's an endurance athlete, bro. I'm watching tape. I'm just watching. I'm just going, this kid's great. Hands down. There's no doubt in my mind. Leaving Washington State, going the Cam Ward route all the way to Miami. It's fucking great. I love that kid. He's warranted that 4th star. That's a good player. Josh Moten. Leaving Marshall and doing the most noble thing of all time, going to Southern Miss with his coaching staff. Obviously, all the Marshall players transferred to Southern Miss. They're following Coach Huff, and they're saying, we're going to go win some shit. They're going to take Southern Miss to the Sun Belt Championship. This is a young man that when he jumped in the portal, he took 2 visits. He went to Indiana. He went to Wisconsin. And he doesn't care. He's going where he has the strongest relationship. And what's really cool is, I want to say something about this kid because I dragged him in a video 2 years ago. And rightfully so. But the transformation that he has made is out of this world. You guys don't know, 2 years ago, this man was arrested multiple times. He was arrested 3 times at A&M. And he got kicked out of school. They kicked him out. Couldn't do it anymore. He was driving while intoxicated, struck a fixture on the highway, reckless driving, posted his bond, was released. Then he had under 2 ounces of marijuana. Then he was tampering and fabricating with physical evidence. I'd imagine something with his cell phone. I don't know. But it's just, we got to kick him out of school. This is not a student athlete. This is just a criminal. And by all accounts, he jumped in the transfer portal, an A&M stud, troubled kid. And the only team that took a chance on him was Marshall. And it was late in the transfer portal 2023. Marshall signed a bunch of players late, and they were like all criminals. They were all last chance you dudes. And I made a video about it and said, yo, these guys, this is fucking crazy. What is Marshall doing? Well, most of those guys, I don't know what happened to them. I don't remember all their names, but I definitely remember Josh's name. Obviously. I think he was an all-academic player this year. I think he's turned his entire life around. And he's probably the most talented player to go to Southern Miss in a while. Obviously, I like Braxton at quarterback, but I'm telling you, this is a good, talented player that probably doesn't belong at Southern Miss, and he's going. He don't care. Going with the coaching staff that trust him, that put effort into him. It's pretty fucking cool. So shout out to him. Redemption is real. And, yeah, I think it's great. I love his tape, by the way. Love his tape. Charles Brantley. I think Charles Brantley is very good. I think Charles Brantley is going to start for Miami. How many people are going to start for Miami? Somebody's got to start, and I don't know who's going to be, but Charles Brantley. Like, these guys are much better. Charles Brantley and Carnley here, they're better than these other guys, man. They really are. Not all of them, but, yeah, Charles Brantley's good, man. Charles Brantley started 3 years at Michigan State. 3 years. And then this year, I think he got injured, and he missed the rest of the season. But he was good. Every time he's on the field, he's good. I watch his tape, and I'm like, yo, that guy's real. He's actually got interceptions. So, you know, there's this stat. You can go to the school website, and it tells you how many snaps these guys played on defense. And I think you can do it at PFF as well. I think. I don't go to PFF. But I'm trying to think of where I get this information from. Charles Brantley played over 1,400 snaps of football while at Michigan State. That is a bona fide veteran, right? He's a veteran, bro. He ain't new to this shit. I'm excited for him and everything he's doing. I think he's a beast. Emmanuel Carnley leaving Arizona, going to Miami. You know, he started the last 6 games of the year. He started a little later in the season. I don't know. I think he's depth. I don't think he's going to be a starter. I don't think he's great. Like, Arizona secondary was not good, and so he finally got a chance to start. He is 6'3", though. Can lift weights and get better. He's very young as well. So it's just one of those things. You go into Miami. Miami has one of the corner spots locked in. OJ is the truth. Federic, the freshman, All-American at Miami. He started at one corner spot, so that's good. But Emmanuel Carnley, good depth, good player, tall. Got 3 years of eligibility left. I think he's just going to add depth. He's not worth talking about for more than that. So good luck to him. I hope it works out. Obviously, getting paid to sit on the bench is not a bad deal. So you're going to leave Arizona. Go to Miami, man. Just stay out of trouble. It's great. Amir Boyd Matthews, leaving UTEP, going to Texas Tech. Yeah, not impressed. Signed with UTEP out of high school. Very rare. Usually UTEP signs JUCO kids and gets transfers. So, rare. I saw him 9 games. I didn't see much. I know he had an offer from Wake Forest. I don't know what this is. Going to 4 stars. Is it just because they want to rank Texas Tech's class really high? Because Texas Tech signed a ton of players? I don't know what this is about. This one doesn't move me like that. Not at all. I'm telling you that right now. And he's been at UTEP for a couple years. He had an offer from Colorado, offer from Houston, but it is what it is. Like, I didn't see nothing special. I was really underwhelmed because I'm looking at all the best players in the portal. I turn on the tape and I'm like, I don't know. Didn't move me. Hope he plays well. Cole Wisniewski. I said his name wrong. Wisniewski? I don't know, bro. I say Nowitzki. I don't know. I never say it right. Trust me, I know I'm saying it wrong. Watch this young man play since 2020. He has had trouble with injuries. If you guys don't know, he's coming from North Dakota State, the Bison. He is an All-American. He had 8 interceptions 2 years ago in one season. 8. But last year, he had surgery in the preseason, right before the games, and then he just missed the whole year. He didn't play at all. But he's an absolute beast. Absolutely beast. I know you got to watch the tape. He's 6'4", 218, converted linebacker. And he's just got enough speed to play safety, and he punishes people, man. I think he's got a knack for finding the ball. I like kids like this. I think he's a good player. I think very highly of him. And shout out to Texas Tech for taking a chance on an FCS player and believing in him. They got to replace CJ Baskerville, the Where did he transfer from? I think he transferred from San Diego State. But he's gone, so now they need other players, and they got one in Cole. I think Cole's a good player, so shout out to him. Jameer Glasker, I wish these guys were a little more realistic about what they're doing, and he's not a bad player. Jameer is going to where he's comfortable. It's a kid who played at Potomac High School, Prince PG County. I lived in DMV for 3 years, know this area well. And, he went out there and played. And the thing about it is he's from Exxon Hill. Is it Exxon? Is that how it's pronounced? He wanted to go to Maryland. He went to Maryland camps in middle school, high school. He wanted to go to Maryland. But when the COVID thing hit and he couldn't play, he got no offers and nothing, and he had to go down to Wake Forest. I think what's really cool is he's going back home where he's comfortable. After playing pretty decent at Wake Forest this year, I thought he played okay. But there's this guy, Azar Abdul Rahim. He's a coach at Maryland. He's on the staff. And when he was on staff at UMass and Boston College, he used to visit Glasker in high school. He used to go to his high school and visit him. And that's kind of where this is coming from. It's a guy who was recruiting you in high school. You weren't interested. I'm not going to UMass. I'm going to go to Maryland or Wake Forest. I want to play in the Power Four. So he ignored the guy. He didn't ignore him. He just, didn't take the offer. And here he is. He's now at Maryland meeting up with that same coach. Still believed in me. So it's pretty cool, man. I thought he played well. The tape looked fine. He has 3 years of eligibility left. What I don't like about Glasker is I read in an interview somewhere, he said, yeah, I think after 1 year, I'll be ready to go to the league. What? You have 3 years of eligibility left? You think you're going to the NFL next year? You played okay at Wake Forest. You weren't an every down player. You weren't an every game starter. You were just a guy. And you're talking about NFL? It reminds me of some of these players that are declaring in the NFL draft. I see them on Twitter. I'll see them declare, and I'll just be like, what? Who the fuck advised that? Like, who told you this? Who's lying to you? Because you're not going to be ready for the NFL next year. No, man. 2 to 3 years. Let's work on being all-conference first. Let's work on being an all-conference player. Let's set goals that are realistic, right? What is it? How do you SMART goals? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and then give me a time frame. Fucking NFL in 1 year? And it doesn't check the box, bro. If you don't know SMART, it's an acronym, SMART. Specific, SMART. Measurable, attainable, realistic, and then give me the time you're going to get it done. Yeah, set some SMART goals, bro. You sound crazy. Jalen Braxton, shout out to him. Leaving Arkansas, going to Ole Miss. If you guys don't know, if you don't follow Pete Golding on Twitter, Pete Golding, defensive coordinator for Ole Miss, when he gets a player to commit to Ole Miss, he'll just post one shark on Twitter. He just posts a shark, and that lets you know. And I can remember the Friday night he posted a shark, and I thought, okay, who did they get? They got a defensive player. I started looking everywhere, and it was Jalen Braxton. So congratulations. Jalen Braxton, this is a young man. I think he has 2 years of eligibility left. He was at Arkansas for 2 years. He might have 3 years. But this is a Texas kid. I think he's a good player when healthy. He was injured. But losing Trey Amos leaves them a hole that they need to find. This is a good player. I hope he gets developed and he gets the reps. That's not a bad player. Skill-wise, he's better than a lot of the guys ranked above him. Skill-wise, he's better than a lot of players above him. All right. Blake Cotton. Blake. Let me say this to you guys. If Blake Cotton does anything significant at Utah, then whoever's at Utah doing player personnel is better than me at this, evaluating players. And that's rare. You guys know I won't concede defeat to anybody. I don't think there's a man in this world better than me at anything. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. I don't think there's a man in this world better than me at anything. Ask him, bro. Ask him. It's the way I view myself. It's the way I go through life. If you're doing anything right now, let's say you're a doctor. I don't think you're a better doctor than me. You just chose to study that with your adult life. If I chose to study that with my adult life, I'd be better than you at it. That's my mindset. Okay? That's how I get down. There's nothing I can't do. I think I think I'm brilliant. I have an unhealthy amount of self-confidence and self-belief. That's how I got here. That's why I'm so successful. That's why I'm rich. I'm telling you. I would have succeeded at something in life. I've done more. If somebody told me, Rico, you change careers at the halfway point of your life and you're still in the top 1% of careers. I want you to think about that. 99% of content creators can't do it for a living. Here I am. And I'm a monster. And then when I was in the military, I retired a first sergeant. Go look at the stats on how many people don't make it a first sergeant. And I could have stayed longer. Could have got sergeant major. The pay wasn't right. $100,000 a year, $500,000. You know what I'm saying? It's not. The pay wasn't right. My point is as great as I am at everything I do, if I apply myself, if I decide to do it, Utah player personnel, I don't know who it is. I haven't looked. I should have probably looked before this segment. Whoever it is, he's better than me. If Blake Cotton does anything this year, I'm going to watch Utah. I watch every game, right? I watch every team in America. If you guys didn't know, I record every single game, and I watch a conference. I watch all the games in a specific conference every single day. We pick a different conference. I watch all the games in that conference on a particular day. And they're all DVR recorded on YouTube TV, ESPN+. This is what I do throughout my weeks. And then we do a podcast at the end of the day. That's how we get down. Okay. All that to say, Blake Cotton, I will be watching every single play at Utah. And if Blake Cotton, I think he has 1 year of eligibility, okay? It's just this year. If he does anything, I'll be fucking shocked. That if he does anything, that tells me Utah's secondary is absolutely in trouble. I'm telling you right now. Shout out to Blake Cotton, 6'3", 190 corner, has the right size, been playing in the FCS for 3 years at UC Davis. I know a lot of the players at UC Davis. I actually pushed a few of them to UC Davis last year. Stacey Dobbins, Carter Vargas, freshmen, 3 stars. Signing with UC Davis last year, a lot of that had to do with me talking to those players individually and telling them, yes, it's a good FCS program. I believe in them, blah, blah, blah. At no time did I think that Blake Cotton dude belongs in Utah. Okay, so good luck to him. Nothing screams FBS caliber. That's just me. Next guy, Bryce Pollock. Bryce Pollock, starting corner for Mississippi State this year. As a sophomore, he started every game. And he's going to Texas Tech. I think it's a great signing. The difference in these two in their tape is fucking just, I don't know what to tell you guys. Deviations, like intervals, rivers and lakes, fucking Atlantic Ocean. That man right there, Bryce Pollock, can play football. He's a good player. Not bad. What's cool about Bryce Pollock is he said it was all because McBath, right? So if you guys don't know Carcel McBath, he's the corners coach at Texas Tech. McBath used to play at Texas Tech. I remember he's a 0-star kid. They didn't give those stars back then. He signed with them back in 2004. And he played there from 2004 to 2008. If you ever see McBath on Twitter, I think his profile says coaching players to be better than I ever could be, something like that. But that was a man who used to play at Texas Tech, so shout out to him. But yeah, he's a young man that used to recruit Bryce Pollock, and now Bryce Pollock is, he's going over to Texas Tech to play with McBath, who used to be at Mississippi State. McBath used to be at Mississippi State, got Pollock to go over there, and then he moved to Texas Tech. Now he's bringing his Louis luggage with him. Good player. Good player. All right, those are all the players tonight that I wanted to discuss and talk about. Thanks for kicking it with me, guys. I know we've been here a little while. Appreciate everybody for watching. But I'll go to the chat one last time before we get out of here. If there's any chat, then if not, then we'll call it a night. Let's go to chat. What's up? 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 Ladies, DQ the Biggest says, searching stats doesn't make you a talent evaluator. It makes you a talent researcher. There's a fine line between pedestrian and professional that people consuming sports media need to understand. Shout out to you, DQ the biggest. What you might not be aware of, and what we don't really make public on this channel, is I actually coordinate and correspond with the college talent evaluators, right? So player personnel's at school, player personnel's, what am I saying? Position coaches, coordinators, those guys, we talk in the DMs and we evaluate players, and I pass them players, or they ask me for players for their particular school. That's very common. I don't want to expose, especially on YouTube, because they can just screenshot the stuff, but I'll show you what I'm talking about to the best of my ability without digging too deep. Let me see if I can just grab one real quick, and we'll go there. 1 second. I'm going to scroll down until I find one. I don't want the preview to say anything that it shouldn't say. Let's see if we find one that we can share with you guys in the moment. If you didn't know, certain coaches do reach out. Here's one. I'll give you an example. So right here in the DMs, there's Trey Willie. So Trey Willie's a running backs coach at Southeast Louisiana. Oh wait, I can't show you the screen. So here he is, running backs coach at Southeast Louisiana. This is a DM conversation that we're having about players, February 5th. So it was a while ago, 3 weeks ago. And we're talking about what players they're looking for and what they need. Another one is AC Patterson. Shout out to him. That's a coach, running backs coach at Sacramento State, and all the players they signed. So just talking to coaches really helps understand how we're evaluating players. This guy's at a prep school. It is what it is. So it's not just a guy on TikTok or Twitter just talking crazy and saying stuff. We're sitting here. Here's a guy from Canada, for example, asking me if I could find players for him that could start on his team in Canada. And he coaches a team that's a feeder team for the Canadian Football League. So I deal with this often. People will come into the chat and be like, this guy just talks crazy or whatever. No, we actually do this for a living. Like we do this. We try to get players signed. I want to say we have over 50 this cycle, over 50 recruiting scholarships for players, getting them to schools and doing the right evaluation. It's what I do. So if I evaluate a talented player and I look at their huddle tape and I tell you what level they can play at and I help them get offers, that's what I do for a living. Like that's the part we don't brag about or talk about, because there's really no need to. It's very gratifying to do this for the kids, and I'm doing it for free, bro. Like, I'll give you an example. Here is Grady Kinsey, a young man that didn't have FBS level offers, and then I finally said he has FBS level offers, right? And then I helped him get those offers. Joshua Coleman has 5 offers. But we can keep going. And when I tell you a player belongs at a certain place and they're getting offers, it's not something we put out there for everybody. But the evaluation, like this, right? When I evaluate a player and I do the RicoKnows hidden gem thing and I tell you who these players are and how good they are, what you got to understand is within the next 5 days when they get an offer, that means I evaluated their talent correctly. And if I'm doing this for if you see a player like this, you see a star player get an offer, and if you look in here and he's tagged all these people that are all recruiters and people who evaluate talent for a living, and you see my name right there, that should tell you why I'm there, right? Getting an offer from La Tech. And this happens, or getting an offer from JMU. So this is very common, right? LJ Pounds getting an offer from Morehouse. It's just, there you go. Another young man that I evaluated and said he belonged at the FBS level. Shout out to Jake Jones, same thing. Got Jake Jones FBS level offers. Just go out and just start putting his tape out there for him. So when we're evaluating players correctly, they will get an offer of whatever I evaluate them at. So they will ask for a review. I will tell them who they are. Here's an example. Jake Maldonado getting NAIA offers after I said I think he's an NAIA player. Same thing with Jasper Kaysen, excuse me. It's just one of those things. It's just you get it right, and that's how that happens. So I do this often. I do this for a living, and the haters will sit back and be like, oh, this guy's just talking on Twitter, on YouTube. But what I'm actually doing is assessing talent every day, whether it be a high school player or a college player or an NFL player. It's the same concept. You evaluate the talent of the player, and you look at that. Jalen Mack, RicoKnows TikTok. There's a young man letting me know he's got a camp invite after I said he belongs at this particular level. He got an invite from those camps. Very, very common for us to get this. There are times that players will sign with the team after talking to the coach, and that's what you want to do, right? You want to make sure these players get evaluated and they get their opportunity at the next level. So if I apply that same principle to the transfer portal, that's how you get accuracy. That's how you get accuracy is when you look at a young man in the transfer portal and you go, wait, he doesn't belong at this level, or he doesn't belong on the field. That lets me know he's a liability in coverage, right? The example would be when I identified Emmett Mosley to be an amazing wide receiver and no one was talking about him, and he goes out and what does he do to Louisville? 13 receptions, 168 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I know that's going to happen because I'm telling you, Emmett Mosley's that great. And I did that in the preseason. People just need to understand, like, if you consistently identify players in the preseason, like I am here for linebackers, and you identify the talent and who they are. Like, I know you might think, like, this is not a big deal, right? But when you do this post like this, and you go in here and you viewing post engagements, and you go to likes, for example, and you start looking at who liked it, and you start paying attention, there's Devin Curtis. That is the player on the list. That is the actual player. Okay, and if you look in here, Avery Morris, that is a player on the list in the transfer portal. But keep looking, it'll be coaches. It'll be coaches, and that's what's important. Is I evaluate players for the coaches, and it's just something that we don't come on the show to talk about, right? But we can go in here and you can say, well, this guy's just talking and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But when you go in here and you look at who's following me, and you come in here and you start seeing coaches. Right? Weber State defensive tackles coach following me for my assessments. Right? You just keep going and you're going to see nothing but coaches that are following me. Danny Stutzman following me. Sonny Cumby, a head coach at an FBS school, following me. That's La Tech's head coach. Why is he following me? Oh, you're just a guy talking. It's a lot. Why are the head coaches of FBS teams following me? That's what you have to ask yourself. Why are they reading my content? And it's because scouting assistant at New Mexico State, newest guy that just followed me. And I'm not just right now, New Mexico State, the people who are evaluating these players follow me. I need you to understand what we're doing here. We're not just talking crazy. It's real. Okay? Coach following me as a JUCO coach. Looking for JUCO players. So if I tell you a player is JUCO caliber, following me. Transfer portal DB, Nigel Williams, one of the top DBs in the portal. Top 10 guy, following me. General manager for Marshall. There you go. Following me just recently, following me. That's the general manager, the guy signing all the players at Marshall. These are the people who are reading the content. Defensive line coach at Garden City, right? These are the people reading the content and watching the videos. It's not what you think. It's not just a bunch of kids sitting there. This is not TikTok, bro. This is not hanging out, shooting the shit, and we're having a good. This is actually trying to find people spots on teams, getting players signed, and you will see defensive line coach at Benedict College. You will see, and you just go through it, you'll be like, whoa, oh, that's the guy here. That's the guy here. And it'll be somebody fairly, and then they'll reach out in the DMs, and I'll say, okay, let's go. And I never want to share those conversations because we just keep it moving. It's not a one conversation thing. We're going to always have them. So just an example so you guys understand. Offensive line coach, run game coordinator at Prairie View A&M. Why are they following me? Because I'm evaluating talent correctly. So the coaches at Prairie View A&M follow me. And it's every university. It doesn't matter who it is. And you might think it's not every university. It's the running backs coach at Pacific. Okay? This is, who is Trevor Trout? Sacramento State. Sacramento State head coach, scouting and recruiting coordinator, and an assistant director of player personnel at UAB. Kent State running backs coach, Mo Ibrahim. You know him. He played at Minnesota. These guys are following the platform because I evaluate talent correctly. That's what you don't understand. And all the haters who go through life, well, That's their problem. I'm just going to keep being me. We're going to keep growing and keep taking over the world. And I'm going to never doubt myself for a second. I told you I'm the best in the world at what I do. I believe that. It's not a game. Man, I remember after week 1, I could feel your disappointment in Arizona. And right before they played KSU, you put the nails in their coffin. I did, Kairos. And unfortunately, I, when it happened, I lost 10 units, bro. I lost 10 units on Arizona in a futures bet. Obviously, I won huge on Indiana and Vanderbilt. Huge. And I wasn't sweating it, but I did. I lost bad on Arizona. It happens. Just drop it in for a quick sec before I watch it on 1.5 speed. Love the videos. Thank you, Jack Esselman. That is how you guys should watch all the live streams. If you get here late, watch them at 1.5 speed. You'll be great. Sorry if you already mentioned them. I just got here. But your thoughts on Metcalf brothers to Michigan? Not really mentioned it. Never thought about it. Haven't evaluated it. Not a big move for me, Bradley. I don't get too excited about players going to schools. I get more excited about commitments like when they're going to be in the 2 deep and on the field. So I'm not tracking anything significant with that. Thoughts on a zillion Hamilton? That was on the other side of the field with Julian Neal. So, Donnie, I like Hamilton, bro. I do. I like his play style and his ability. Shout out to him. I think that Coach Entz can get the most out of these players if they would just stick around and give them a chance. That's how I feel. I like Coach Entz a lot. I like the way he builds culture and finds winners. It's going to be difficult to do in this NIL world right now. But there's a flatbed of talent in that Central California, Southern California area. And you just got to sign the right players and find the right ones, man, and keep them home. There's so many good players that want to play there. You just got to find them, and you got to get them. There was a kid in Arizona this year, absolutely amazing quarterback, would have loved to play at Fresno, but they signed too many players already. They're already locked in step with some terrible guys, and it's just going to be a tough, daunting task. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Nonetheless, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'm going to go talk to my girl. She just got home. But your friends don't know. But Rico knows. I don't even know if I have my intro music up and ready. This is crazy. I'm just over here chilling. I apologize. It was ready, but then I pulled up the whole Twitter screenshot thing. Let me do this. Let me go over here because I'm not allowed to do playwright or copyright music. Y'all have a blessed night. Thanks for kicking with me tonight. I appreciate you guys. I hope you learned something about the transfer portal and defensive backs. Peace.